All right, let's get into it. When you think of Tasmania, what comes to mind? For most people, it's this image of a pristine wilderness, right? A kind of paradise at the very edge of the world. Rugged mountains, clean air, and hey, you wouldn't be wrong. But that's not the whole story, not even close. There's another story hiding in plain sight.
So, on the one hand, you've got this. Just absolutely stunning. The southern lights dancing over a lake. It looks priceless, like a dream. But then, you've got this. A real estate listing. A piece of land in that exact same paradise. And the price? Under $40,000. No, that's not a typo. So, what gives?
That is the big question, isn't it? It's the central mystery we're going to try and solve in this explainer. Why is a piece of this incredible island practically being given away? Well, to get to the bottom of it, we've got to follow the clues. And let me tell you, it's a journey into a history that's a lot darker and way more complicated than any tourism brochure will ever let on.
Okay, so our first clue is all about Tasmania's really weird history of building entire towns and then just abandoning them almost as fast. You see, the point was never to build lasting communities. It was all about getting resources out of the ground fast. And the towns, they were just as disposable as the mines they were built for.
Take a look at the life of a town called Adamsfield. It shows you just how insanely fast this boom and bust cycle was. In 1925, there's a rush for a metal called osmiridium. And get this, it was 7 times more valuable than gold back then. 1 year later, boom, you've got 1,000 people living out in the middle of nowhere. But by the 1960s, it's all over. The whole town, born, and for all intents and purposes, dead in a little over 35 years. An entire generation literally watched their hometown vanish.
And Adamsfield wasn't some one-off thing. It was basically the blueprint. I mean, look at this table. It's a clear pattern. The town of Darwin lasted just 3 years. 3. Crotty, 28 years. Pillinger, 43. These were never meant to be real organic towns. They were just temporary industrial camps, built to suck the wealth from the earth. And once the minerals were gone, so were the people, leaving behind nothing but ghost towns and a deeply wounded landscape.
And that brings us right to our second clue. All that extraction left deep, permanent scars on the land, especially on the West Coast. And the epicenter of all this damage is a town that actually still exists, but it is paying a heavy, heavy price for its past. That town is Queenstown.
If you've ever seen photos of Queenstown, you've seen the infamous moonscape. And let me be clear, that is not natural. For decades, the local copper smelters just belched out sulfur fumes. They created so much acid rain that it literally killed every single plant on the hills around the town. Logging and fires finished the job, and what's left is this weird, colorful, but totally barren landscape. The damage was so absolute that the topsoil washed away, so nothing can grow back naturally.
And the damage wasn't just in the air. The mine also dumped an estimated 100 million tons of toxic sludge, they call it tailings, directly into the Queen River. It's a number that's just staggering. They essentially killed the entire river system, poisoning it for decades to come.
So on top of all the man-made damage, there's the climate itself. Queenstown gets, on average, 336 cloudy days a year. It's one of the wettest, grayest places in all of Australia. It just adds this constant layer of gloom to an already scarred environment.
So you've got a poisoned landscape and oppressive weather. What happens when the jobs disappear, too? Well, in 2014, the main mining company collapsed, and the town's entire economic engine was just ripped out. Today, Queenstown has an unemployment rate of nearly 10%. There are almost no jobs left to hold the community together.
And look, this isn't ancient history. The legacy of all this is very real, right now. The river's still polluted. The hills are still bare. The soil is contaminated. And if you want one detail that sums it all up, the local football field is made of gravel. Not because they want it that way, but because grass still can't properly grow there.
This all leads us to our third and final clue, which really connects the dots between the past and the present. Why, even with all this history, don't people see that cheap land as some great opportunity? Because, well, a beautiful view is worthless if you don't have a lifeline to the modern world.
I mean, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? The median house price in Queenstown is under $200,000. In Hobart, the state capital, it's hovering around $800,000. That isn't just a price difference, it's a chasm. It's a giant flashing sign that reflects a total lack of demand and opportunity.
And the demographic data tells us exactly who is leaving: young people and families. The median age in Queenstown is way up at 47. You can see there's a much larger slice of the population that's over 65 than under 14. And why would they stay?
There are no jobs, the internet is unreliable, and you've got limited access to good schools and medical care.
This is what we can call the wilderness paradox. People aren't leaving Queenstown because it isn't beautiful. They're leaving because beauty alone is not enough. To survive in the 21st century, a community needs what the source material calls a technological stack. The basics: jobs, internet, schools, healthcare. Without that foundation, land becomes practically worthless, no matter how cheap it is.
So let's put all these clues together. That cheap $40,000 piece of land? It's not a mystery, it's a symptom. It's the logical, predictable outcome of a history of extraction, environmental ruin, and a complete failure to build anything sustainable. What it really reveals is a tale of two completely different Tasmanias.
On one side, you have the history of the Palawa, Tasmania's first peoples. They managed to live in harmony with this exact same land for at least 40,000 years. 40,000! On the other side, you have the colonial experiment. Just 200 years of an economy built to extract and abandon, treating both the land and its people as disposable.
And here is the great, stunning irony of it all. Today, Tasmania is celebrated as this green leader, right? It's 100% self-sufficient on renewable energy, mostly from hydropower. But many of those hydro projects, the ones that flooded valleys and drowned old mining towns like Crotty, they're part of the exact same industrial legacy. Its green future is literally built on the ruins of its extractive past.
The source material puts it in a way that just really sticks with you. The island that erased 40,000 years of Palawa history now preserves 100 years of colonial failure as heritage sites. Think about that for a second. Those ghost towns and industrial ruins, they're now protected tourist attractions. That's the history we've chosen to preserve, while a much longer, more sustainable history was almost completely wiped off the map.
So the next time you see a picture of some breathtaking, untouched paradise that's for sale, it's worth asking this question. When a place gets marketed as a pristine wilderness, what stories, what people, and what real costs are being hidden from you? Because as Tasmania shows us, paradise always has a price, and it's almost never the one you see on the listing.